Thank you for let's go for
How are you, sir? You know, right?
Did you really have your first game or not?
Oh, we lost.
Yeah, too
Bad.
Yeah. Hey, Germany shouldn't have lost, but
Hey, English, yeah. I should have. I thought you were over here.
no.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, it's game.
Pick up soccer.
And the game was tough.
Play around here.
So bad.
Really good.
We have another chance. You have to beat Argentina.
You look great.
I think you guys were shot.
All right, folks, it's now 7 p.m. It's time to call to order this regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting for June the 18th, 2018. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our last meeting. Any questions? Oh, before we continue, I want to remind everybody that this is being streamed out over the internet, so if you make comments or whatever, make sure you speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you. Any questions or comments on the minutes from our last meeting? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of last minute.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Okafor, second by Ms. Daniels. All those in favor? It passes. Okay. The next item on our agenda is an action discussion item. This is a little variance from what we've had in the past. An action discussion item does not require a public hearing. That doesn't mean you guys don't get to speak. You still be able to. We just don't call a public hearing to order and then close it. First three items on our agenda tonight, or the next three items are that way. So, the next item on the agenda is applicant is Matt Atkins, PE, Engineering Concepts, at or about 429 Tripp Road, north along Robin Ridge Drive and west of Mallard Drive. This is requested for final plat, Stony Creek 5B, Section 2. Director Jackson.
Chairman Commission, applicants requesting final plat for Stony Creek 5B Section 2. The preliminary plat for this phase received approval from Town Council in May 2017. Now that the construction is complete, the applicant has returned to finalize the construction and the final plat. Track 5 of Stony Creek is zoned SF2. In order to address concerns with surrounding residents and several development variations were allowed as part of the concept plan and preliminary plat approval for this phase. A total of 30 lots are proposed with this final plat. Note some additional details with regard to the setbacks and the variations in the staff memo, right-of-way access and open space. I will note that the Stony Creek Track 5 development standards require that the minimum 900 linear feet of hike and bike trail be constructed with the development of the entire Track 5. This is a portion of Track 5. Stony Creek concept plans show the trail running adjacent to this development. As part of the preliminary plat approval, Phase 5B, Section 2, Town Council noted that the developer will be responsible to construct only their portion of that 9,100 linear foot trail, which equated to 3,296 linear feet. That is an escrow amount in the cost of 65.91 linear feet per lot. Applicant will be required to pay this escrow payment as well as a mitigation fee per PRO requirements of $1,100 per lot. Staff recommends approval contingent to addressing all staff comments.
A quick question on that, Director Rashad. Who's responsible for the rest of that trail? Does that come on later phases?
Later phases.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any questions or comments from the staff? Okay, anyone wish to approach and discuss this item on the agenda? Okay. entertain a motion now.
Rochelle, why is this on a regular agenda item?
Why?
Why isn't this part of the regular agenda? Why is it a discussion item?
Well, the UDO, when we adopted the UDO, certain items that were originally public hearings are now just discussion items. They don't necessarily require a public notice as it used to be. Centerville was a little different where we noticed for essentially
So
every.
this is underneath the new UDO?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I do have a question. Is there only one exit out of this particular development out to Trip Road? I saw that sections 2 and 3 will be accessed by Trip Road.
Yes.
Right now, there's only one entrance,
Yes.
so we've got the same issue that we have in a number of subdivisions that we talked about last time.
Right, and as part of the original concept plan submittal, staff made comments about connecting to the original phase of phase 5A to create 2 access points for this entire development. As part of their concept plan approval, that was not allowed, that connection was not allowed. So, and they received a variation to allow for extended cul-de-sac. So they're developing according to their approval.
So it becomes a problem. We've discussed it last time on a separate subdivision where, for safety reasons, we couldn't connect through
Right,
because there's no sidewalks.
right.
Here, are there sidewalks? I can't remember.
There, as part of the concept plan, I'm certain if it's in here, toward the northern end of this phase, which would be section 3, toward Mallard, there is a sidewalk connection that will be made to the other cul-de-sac in phase 5A. And then they'll be able to walk down the street and connect where you see Sunset Court on this phase to the sidewalk at the end of that cul-de-sac.
But it's not throughout the subdivision.
No.
Okay, I entertain a motion now.
Motion for approval.
Here a second. Anyone? Okay, the motion and second, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, our discussion item number 3 on the agenda. We've got a little bit of ringing in the microphone. Can we turn it down a little? Quite a bit of feedback. That's much better, thanks. Okay, the applicant, Jonathan Sparks, Trinity Group International, INT. I don't know what that's, maybe international. At or about 330 Clay Road, the request is for a site plan, Vince Hagen Building.
Good evening, Chairman and Commission. I'd like to start by saying the town staff does recommend approval of the proposed site plan contingent to revisions being made to address the civil plan comments required by Public Works Department and our contracted engineering firm for review. There is minor items concerning sewer and water easements. The subject property is 2.63 acres in size and was platted as Lot 4 with the final plat of Sunnyvale Center Number 1. The property remained undeveloped for many years with the exception of a parking lot on the northwest corner. And access to the parking lot was through a designated fire lane along the east side until 2016 when a access drive was constructed to Clay Road. The property abuts a large manufacturing facility to the east. To the north is a storage yard, and they're both owned by Vince Hagen, the applicant company. And to the south is a distribution facility for a small bakery. The Vince Hagen company plans to develop a small office building on the site that will be used in conjunction with the existing facility. The plan features a 3,500 square foot, 1-story masonry building as depicted in the illustration and plan, with an articulated facade and a front and rear entry. The site will have access to Clay Road from the paved access drive. The rear part of it will be abandoned and converted into a proposed lot parking lot. Fire lane will extend to the front of the building. Some details to point out, to highlight, is the building will be approximately 19 feet tall and climb platted with brick and artificial stone, excuse me. Oh, not getting used to this. Parking is going to be in the front and fully landscaped, along with the existing parking lot to the south, or to the, to the east. 25-foot landscape buffer will run along the west side install. All our staff comments. Thank you.
Okay. Question for staff, is the fire marshal okay with the fire lane?
Yes.
The way it's been
Oh,
proposed?
yes, he was the one that recommended that it was extended. The one on the rear side,
Okay.
on the rear of the parking lot, of the lot is going to be abandoned.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from staff?
I have a comment on the note you had 330 Clay Road, on the drawing you had 510. Which one is the correct address?
330 Clay Road is what we have. What is it, 5? You go ahead.
I think what happened was they provided an address for the overall Vince Hagen property, but this specific lot is 330 Clay Road.
On that, that's 310.
I'm sorry? Did you say,
On the schematic, building side plan, that's 310. I mean 510, I'm sorry.
yeah, they'll need to be changed.
Okay.
Just need to be changed.
So 310, 330 is the
Yes, sir.
correct address.
Yes.
All right, anyone from the audience wish to discuss this agenda item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Trinity Group at 330 Clay Road, the site plan.
I'll second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Daniels, seconded by Mr. Klein. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. On to the next agenda, item 4. This is also a discussion item. I will say one thing, maybe everybody's confused about discussion item. A lot of times you'll hear the comment consent item. In other words, it's saying something that really just is basically the last part of the process to go through. That's the reason a lot of cities call it a consent item, and there's no discussion. It's just approve or not approve. But in Sunnyvale, we try to do it the hard way. Okay, on to number 4. Name is Ronnie Jones, at or about 620 Highway 80. The request is for a site plan for the Berean Baptist Church.
Yes, I'd like to start by saying that town staff has a few comments, recommendations for consideration, and we do recommend approval upon all of them being addressed. Planning staff comments are primarily concerning landscape and building design. They're further explained in the staff memo. Staff notes that the applicant may request alternative compliance to the comments noted. As of now, we have not received any such requests. Civil plan comments must be addressed also prior to construction. The subject property is just over 4 acres in size and was recently planted in May under the title Berean Spirit Edition. The property is undeveloped and is located east of the former Bull's Pen Cafe, and it's undeveloped and east of the Bull's Pen Cafe. Vacant land abuts to the south and the east. I'm sorry, okay. I'm getting my directions messed up. I'm sorry. The Bull's Pen Cafe is on the west, south, and east is vacant, and US Highway 80 runs to the north. It's zoned highway commercial, which by right, a church is allowed to develop in any zoning district, and this is where the applicant intends to construct. The plan features an almost 23,000 square foot 2-story building to be used as a church. Public access to the building will be through the north. Public access to the building will be from the east, although it has frontage on Highway 80. It'll be through the shared drive currently used by the former Bull's Pen Cafe, noted here, and it will continue as a fire lane completely covering the perimeter of the building. The front facade will be platted primarily with a mixture of stone masonry and stucco. Portions of the metal roof will be pitched with a canopy spanning a large portion of the front facade. Extra actually extends 28 feet from the front entry. You can see that, it's about right there. There's many of the comments needing to be addressed from the planning perspective are due to the site's location along Highway 80. The location requires that developments adhere to U.S. Highway 80 corridor special area design standards and additional landscaping, which are included in the packet. The top right photo depicts a large landscaping berm similar to what we require in our special area design standards, buffer requirements. What we require is a 6 to 8 foot landscaping berm undulating, so meandering throughout. The rest of the graphics kind of illustrate the different types of design elements that the location requires, such as ornamental pedestrian scaled lighting on the top left, outdoor furniture, planters, bike racks, and the like. Special area lighting is also required and is explained in the staff memo. That's all the staff's comments. Thank you.
Question to staff, is the majority of this building stucco?
No, it's, yes, the sides and rear is primarily
Because it
stucco.
says masonry to finish to be determined. And, of course, our code says, or particularly in the US 80 quarter, I believe it's 10% stucco.
Mhm.
So is there another masonry finish that's just not being listed here?
No, this is what they proposed thus far. There's requests, alternative compliance can be requested.
But they haven't done so at this time?
Yes. They have not done so, and there's several outstanding design elements that haven't been depicted just yet in plans.
All right, well, I see nothing wrong with the design. I think that we're going to have to stick with what our rules and regulations are without, unless they want to come forth with an alternative building material.
I agree. I think the majority, the main comment here is the exterior materials that will be required in this area, as well as the landscaping. We can have some variations with the landscaping, noting that majority of those properties along there haven't really used that berm as or met the berm requirement. So to make them put that in right now, I don't know. And being that it's a church, those type of landscaping requirements typically are used for your large and commercial developments.
Yeah, I see no sense in having it there personally.
Right. So as long as there's something adequate and consistent with the landscape requirement, as far as the trees, number of trees and things of that nature, I have no issue, as long as they can at least request that alternative, make an alternative compliance request for that.
So if we approve the site plan, this building would not be approved unless we have alternative building material, is that correct?
Correct.
Approval?
The US 80 corridor requires 90% masonry.
Okay, so all we're doing right now tonight would be approving the site plan.
Approving the site plan, it will be approving the site plan elevations, but what your approval, or recommendation to town council, you can state you recommend 90% masonry and a alternative proposal is acceptable for the landscape and something to that effect.
Again, I like the design, sometimes our stucco and masonry requirements and a sticking point. All right, anyone from the audience wish to approach? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ronnie Jones. My address is 417 Bodark, Mesquite, Texas. I want to address the masonry. It's an oversight on the architect. 100% of that building is going to be brick. It's going to have some accent bands of stucco, but it's an oversight on his part to put that as all stucco. And I thought we already had it addressed, so it's all going to be brick all the way around. The front has transparency and banding and stone and a mixture of that based on the statement of architectural compatibility for the roadside or the
That's the
highway.
reason I was questioning the notation on the elevation when it said masonry to be determined.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of vague, but I assure you, by
I just
tomorrow,
wanted to
it'll be
clarify.
changed.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so with that, anyone else wish to comment? I'll entertain a motion then. Either to approve or deny.
I make a motion to approve the site plan of the Berean Baptist Church at 620 Highway 80
With
with the stipulation about the
landscape.
landscape.
Yes.
Clear enough?
Yeah.
I got that ring back again.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Daniels, second by Mr. Pease. All those in favor? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, now we go to our fifth item on the agenda. Applicant is Christopher Jackson, One Jackson Inc. At or about 225 through 311 North Collins Road. This is 44 acres north of Michael Lane and west of North Collins Road. The request is to change the town's future use plan. Let me start over. To change the town's future land use plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and the zoning map from single-family 3 to single-family 4 as a planned development, Collins Crossing. Director Jackson?
Chairman, Commission, this zone change request was recently presented at the May 21st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The request was tabled to address some concerns with access, proposed municipal dedication site, and open space. The applicant has returned with an updated proposal addressing the concerns noted by the Commission and residents. General changes were noted in the staff memo, which included a number of lots from lower from 56 to 54. The lots in the panhandle section of the property have been eliminated, which is shown here. Lots 10, 11 through 10, 11, and 12 are now lot 14. This is a state lot. The names were modified, the street names were modified, and the connection to Yosemite Falls Drive was eliminated. There is a fire access proposed there, which could be, in essence, a 12-foot wide or 24-foot wide, somewhat of an alley in a sense, which access would be restricted with some sort of bollards that could actually provide access for kids in the falls to walk to school, noting that this proposed development will have sidewalks. So it could be a connection that connects the road. In regards to the municipal dedication, staff was directed to get further information on what the proposed site might be. Town staff, the fire chief, and upper town management reviewed the proposal and felt as though it would be best to leave that decision up to town council. We do see there is some viability in the site, but whether or not town council or they want to use it for a fire station, a library, or any other type of use, I think that decision should be left up to them. That's what we concluded on that. All other details with regard to the proposal are shown here on the concept plan and are up for review and discussion. Staff recommends approval noting the proposed changes addressing the concerns with the lots, the access, and the street names.
Okay. And then, I may have missed your comment on this, but the applicant is willing to dedicate the front parcel as open space if the city does not, or the town does not take it over.
Correct. He noted the town doesn't want it. He would probably dedicate that as open space and provide a connection or some kind of sidewalk to allow for the residents around that area to have access to it.
Okay. All right. Any questions for staff? All right, now we'll now open this public hearing. Does the applicant wish to address?
My name is Christopher Jackson. My address is 600 North Pearl, Suite 650, Dallas, Texas 75282. Mr. Chairman, members of P&Z, city staff, thank you for allowing me to come forward and speak to you tonight. When we were last together, there were several concerns that were raised. I like to think we paid attention. We've come back, I think, addressing most of the concerns. We've come back also with the staff recommendation. Something further we've done is, if I can approach, I'd like to show you a fit test we did actually on this site. Could I do that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. For what?
For the common area.
Oh, common area,
And
okay.
as I do this, I'll also describe to the audience what I'm showing. This is a fire station in Rowlett, Texas, located near this fair city, not as good a city, but another fair city. And as you can see, this fire station is a new, modern fire station. Fire trucks access around back, so they're loaded to go on this site. There's areas where they have bunk beds, offices, and you can see how it fits, and actually there's room in the back. We didn't do an exact refit of this, but this is on the ground. We did this to help demonstrate what we're talking about. And we did provide staff a copy of this earlier for those in the audience.
Okay.
Mr. Rowlett?
Yes.
Impose them
On there, not exactly.
You want me to pull that up, or?
Can you pull that? He thinks he can pull that up on
Okay.
the screen, although I don't know if we need to. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
We did that, and you can see that it fits. We've looked at this, staff's looked at it. This is in the center of Sunnyvale. Part of the premise of this PD was this kind of concept of having a space, because there were so many uses in the future for the town of Sunnyvale that could fit here. As mentioned by staff, fire station, library, even a park if the town wanted to. There could be a satellite office. The list goes on and on and on. One thing I would like to note on the access, we would like it to be very limited to where it feels like something you won't want to pull into unless you're a fire truck, if that makes sense, so that we can honor what the Falls has requested, to have it be fire only. If you're not there with the fire engine, you're going to think it feels like an alley or something else, to where we won't get any kind of cars going up in there.
You're talking about the cross-access between the falls and
Yes,
the
sir.
property.
Yes, sir. And also with the large lot, we have talked to a local realtor. We think that is a viable option. That's why we've shown it. And with that, I think we've hopefully allayed some of the concerns. I know one of the letters of protest for this last time talked about what could happen there, and we read your code thoroughly. We know there's very strict standards as to outbuildings, other uses. We would fully comply with all of that. We anticipate this being a estate lot. We do not anticipate there being a shop out there.
What size lot is this? I can't read it from here.
Yes, sir. It is. Yes, sir. So, and I'm available for any questions. As you can see from the list, we really thought about this. We really went back and tried to accommodate all the concerns. We may not have gotten all of them, but we certainly, all the ones that were present, we really went back and thought about.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
One quick. I'm pretty sure I can figure this out from the drawing, but do you know offhand how many lots are smaller than an acre?
I believe it's 48.
All of them are the yellow, is that the?
Yes, so there's 48 lots that are the 20,000 square foot, and then 6 that are 1 acre. 1 acre greater. So I'm looking at the map, counting it just to verify. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Those lots are still bigger than the half acre, right?
They're an approximate half acre lot. That is the majority, which is the same lot fit that we're doing right now at Homestead. So the thought would be, this is a product that we're very familiar with, to bring it over here. It's different than what's in subdivision to the north. That's a little smaller lot, alley served.
I thought that you said they are about the same size with the Stone Canyon
And actually, they're a little larger than Stone Canyon. The average lot over there is 1,500 feet.
Yes, so it's a little bit different product, a little bit bigger.
Okay,
So we-
another question is between falls and the proposed area, what kind of barricade are you gonna put in between falls and the new development?
Could you state your question one more time?
You know, between falls, you have reduced it to, it's not a thoroughfare, right? Between falls and the
You talking about the cross street between White Cliff and the falls?
Yes, yes, so really, we would follow the town's ordinance, and I believe there's something, isn't there, as far as what that would look like?
Yeah, that would just need to meet fire code requirements. And that's something that I think our fire chief, Doug Kendrick, would,
But would they have like a drop gate or something like that, or just be an open road?
Probably Bob.
it would probably be bollards, that's what I
Yeah.
would suggest, or it's probably what would probably be recommended.
And we work through that, because part of it is, and we thought through some of it, that if you get too fancy, then you have to have that on the fire truck, on and on, versus if there's a couple of bollards to where, if you're trying to cut through and you're going to get out of your car and lift up several bollards, well, you're going to, you're going to do whatever. But we'd work that through with the fire chief to make whatever makes sense, so that it feels pedestrian, kids can walk back and forth, but prevent cars. So.
I don't really want to slow the fire trucks from, in case of fire, to go to falls or go to the area. Would this slow the fire trucks?
That would be for the fire chief. We could even entertain breakaway type structures. So there's a lot of different options. In different cities, we've seen them do almost everything under the sun to affect
Of
that.
course, this would be only under an emergency where you didn't have the normal access to the falls. This would be like if there was a disaster or something, you had to get in the backside and the disaster was on the front side blocking the road. Otherwise, it would be the normal access. This is just a secondary access, it's not a primary.
Yeah, my concern is when we approve the falls, one of the main things I was hitting was to have a way out. And when we approve that the thoroughfare going from that to Collins, when they build that intersection, that was approved.
Yes, sir.
But there was a lot of input from the public that said they did not want that. So this is an alternative. Still give the fire truck access, but yet not have.
An emergency.
There was a lot of people in the falls that were complaining about through access.
And I can see their complaints. I mean, you could see it. This could be a cut through, and we heard that comment, and so we proposed this. But we could put a road in. It's same to us.
As long as the fire chief will agree with you and work together with the fire agree.
Yes, and of course that would be part of what staff would mandate.
Mr. Jackson?
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any more comments?
I have one comment or question or clarification, but since this is a flag lot and the width on this is for actually Mr. Jackson.
Number 2.
The width of the front entrance of this number 14 lot is too narrow where we're having this lot subdivided.
Correct.
It could never be subdivided.
No, that wouldn't be something that, per our UDO, would be allowed.
I just wanted to make that clarification.
Mr. Chairman, and add one more comment. That's why there is that other kind of stranger lot, so that it really protects some of that for the future if town decides to go that way.
Okay.
I have a question for Rashad. We've had concerns about traffic on Collins. This is pretty close to where it's heavy traffic all the time
Yes.
during evening hours, morning hours. With this, it seems like it's going to be further complicated.
I would agree. I mean, you're going to, of course, have more people coming out right at that location. Collins will be expanded in the future to handle additional traffic. But no matter what, if this is approved or if it stays SF3, you're still looking at, capable of 40 lots in that location. So no matter what, there's going to be additional traffic just because of the zoning for that property.
And there's no sidewalk along that Collins projected. We talked about trail system and being able to walk to and from places.
Right.
So they've indicated that kids could walk from the falls through this neighborhood.
Right.
But really, where would you cross once you hit the edge of this street?
I know there's a crossing, I think, close to Michael Lane, but that'd be a temporary crossing point. But until Collins Road is expanded, when it's expanded, sidewalks will be put in with that expansion. I don't know if they'll be capable of being, sidewalks will be capable of being put in on the west side of Collins Road, primarily because of the burn in both properties. But I know for a fact that they'll be on the school side, the east side. I think that there'll be an opportunity to put yet another crossing, a flashing crossing or something in that general area where this municipal site might be. But otherwise, they'll have to go down likely to Michael Lane. Something will have to be done to provide them access to cross.
All right. Any other comments, questions from staff? All right, now we'll open the public hearing for this. Anyone wish to approach and speak, may do so. I've got that come back again. A lot of feedback.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that Bill? Oh, yeah.
Hi, guys.
Your name and address for the record.
Name's Dave Kennebrew. I'm at 345 Yosemite Falls Drive. This is a nice revised plan that from the first one we got last month. There's only a couple of questions we have on the revision. It just didn't go far enough for the greenbelt. Lots 13 and 14, we really don't think needs to be there because it does not provide the complete greenbelt that we're looking for some of the homes that are there. Secondly, I don't know if this is a planned development. Is this a planned development, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We kind of, I don't know if that's within our scope or not, but that doesn't seem to benefit the community that we have with a planned development. But we can bring this up with the city council if that's necessary. Our concern is really is the green belt and the preservation of what we have behind our homesteads. 13 and 14 would go a long way. Removing those and just making it complete as it was before would go a long way for us to get some buy-in and making this part of what we look to have with this new development. That was another thing. What was the other?
The street, the traffic.
Yeah, that's the pass-through. You made a comment about the pass-through that you would put a street, but it was from a comment over here from, correct?
As far as the fire lane between the two?
Yeah.
It could be a crash bar that, or it could be bollards. It could be a number of different devices that would allow the fire department to get through, but not allow other vehicles to get through. But your kids can still walk down.
Okay.
Can still get, by code, I think our code is 24 feet.
Okay.
So,
We have a lot of vehicles, as you guys all know, here in Sunnyvale. I mean, more vehicles than we got people almost. My concern, some of my neighbors' concerns also, is when we think vehicles, we think cars, but we have a lot of motorcycles here too. So motorcycles are subject to pass through that area. So I'd like you to take that into consideration when we're talking about kids walking to school. A good point on crossing, but it's really a busy area. So if we're just thinking cars, we're missing a lot of other type of transportation that people use in our community. For right now, I think that's all I have. I thought I was coached pretty good.
Sir, one question.
Yes, sir.
So with lot 14, are you afraid they're just going to come in and bulldoze all those?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 13 and 14, if they were not there, it would go a long way to preserve their green belt.
Let's say they did and just left a bunch of trees there, which I can't imagine anyone coming. I mean, I went and looked at that area. It's beautiful. It's beautiful and full of trees. I can't imagine anyone coming in and cut down all those trees. It makes no sense.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, whoever buys it can do whatever they want with it.
Agreed.
So that's the end of that discussion.
But again, people can buy it, and it's still, I mean, it's a property that someone can buy today.
That's true. Whenever it comes up. I think 13 and 14 off would make that whole strip a lot more appealing, even to me. I want to buy it if I have 13 and 14 off to protect that area from my neighbors.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Julia Harriman. I'm at 370 Spur Cross. And first off, I wanted to ask Mr. Jackson, did you get my email today?
Yes.
Okay.
It was forwarded on to the commission.
Okay, so I don't need to repeat everything
They've
that I
all been
wrote?
provided with a copy,
Okay.
physical copy.
Okay, so the main thing that I really reflected on since the last meeting, and first off, let me say that I do appreciate the fact that the developer did listen to, many of our initial concerns and has redirected a lot of that. But I'm a college professor, and the first thing I do is look at objectives and outcomes to a lesson. And so what I did is I went and looked at the town's vision and vision priorities, and I tried to align my concerns with the visions and the vision priorities of the town of Sunnyvale. So the main thing that I would just ask that you all do is to take that into consideration in terms of several times throughout the vision priorities. It mentions the natural resources, the town's character, the small town feel, the rural character, the green spaces, the open spaces. That's mentioned several times throughout these vision priorities. And I just think that in terms of the peninsula especially is probably my biggest concern. Mr. Pease asked about the concern about the trees. Yes, it's a concern. We were told at the last meeting that they would make sure that the border trees to the falls and to our neighborhood would remain. But that specific area, when you look at the aerial image that kind of shows the trees actually in there, it is very dense. There's like nothing over here where the homes are being built, but it's very dense in that area. It just seems in complete contradiction to what the vision is for the town of Sunnyvale. I understand development has to occur. I understand that new homes need to be built. We benefited from that. Our home isn't on a huge lot, so so I get that. But one of the reasons that we were so attracted to this community was because of this being Sunnyvale. And I feel like every time that we just bulldoze through and add a new neighborhood, we're chipping away from what Sunnyvale is and the difference of what Sunnyvale is compared to a lot of communities, in the surrounding area. So I just would, like everybody to kind of, I know you guys know what the vision priorities are, but really, and just in terms of a lot of this, I just think it's important for us to look at, are these in reality what we want to see, and how does this align with that? In terms of the density, I was under, and am I understanding right that it was initially zoned as low density? It's low density, right, that it's currently zoned as?
They just use different designations, like SF3 and SF4. But what they're asking is for really a planned development and planned community. So
Okay.
it really kind of obviates the need to change, the need to change that wording. But
Okay,
the
I gotcha.
density is 54 lots whenever.
Okay.
That's the maximum lots they could have.
Okay.
Their proposed plan.
So it is going to be an HOA community, I'm assuming? Yes?
I think that's
Yes.
Absolutely. So with the HOA community, you can stipulate on a specific lot where a house needs to be. The HOA can say the house needs to be only at this portion of the lot, and you cannot,
No, HOA does not have that right.
They don't?
They have to be platted that way.
Okay. Then I got some wrong information there. Okay. So,
Now, an HOA can set limits, but it would really have to, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'd have to be platted that way. It would have to be deeded that way. deed restriction.
And I'm getting some information second and third hand, well, a lot of information second and third hand, but I've heard on more than one occasion that this particular developer has guaranteed that trees would remain, and they came in and bulldozed everything. So my big concern is where are we protected in terms of that? I know that you guys are on board with wanting to keep any trees that we can, but where do we get that kind of confirmation when we're hearing that that has not occurred over in the homestead?
Well, any developer that comes in is required to do a tree mitigation. So if they take a tree down, they have to replace the equal number in inches. So if they take a 12-inch tree down, they have to plant that number of caliber trees back. And whether or not that's been done yet or not, in any stage of development, I couldn't tell you because I'm not out in the field every day looking
Yeah.
at that.
Gotcha.
So they
Okay.
have to go through and, that dense area, and for every tree someone removed, they'd have to replace them. It just doesn't,
It doesn't make sense to me
I'm not a
either.
developer or a builder or anything,
Right.
but it doesn't make sense for anyone to cut down the tree. I
Right.
can't imagine a person wanting to go back there and think that they're gonna have lumber for their fire, right? That doesn't make sense.
I can't imagine that either, but
But
it's.
today, we have no protections for them to do today. They could go do it today and bulldoze that whole area.
It just seems to me when you look at that lot, you're like, okay, why would we want to put one house on that humongous lot? Why wouldn't we want to use that for a green space? That's,
Well,
We're not developers or builders,
exactly.
anyways, I'm just
Yes, I understand.
telling you what I'm thinking. So, so I had written this long diatribe, and I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but mainly I just kind of went in and looked at, aligning the town vision with kind of some of the concerns. Initially, my own personal concern was just the trees right behind my house, but the more I started listening to other people in the community, especially the people that back up to us in the falls, I started feeling really passionate about what they're thinking too and what they're going through. And so anyways, I just wanted to be here tonight to at least express that, and I thank you guys for listening.
Ma'am, just one question.
Yes.
Your letter mentions this, and I'll use your quote as the cut through. Are you opposed to any cut through, or are you just opposed to one that allows cars?
So yeah, when I saw that, and I didn't understand until tonight, until one of them told me that they had taken away the street. And so so that whole paragraph, I put a big X by because I thought that was still, it's a proposed street. I understand about the fire trucks. We have to have a way for that I get that, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Plus it allows them to interconnect with the kids from the fall.
Sure,
to get to
sure.
school,
Sure. Yeah.
Which was what a lot of people wanted.
I don't know how a child is going to safely cross the street. Is that what we're talking about, though? If they can get through that neighborhood?
Crossing of Collins has its own issues, which
Okay.
we can't really address today.
Okay.
There's certainly some issues.
Okay. All right. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, ma'am. Anyone else?
Chris Wrench, 339 Yosemite Falls. I'm here, so I figured I'd come up here and ask a couple questions. I do appreciate the changes he made. I think he did a pretty good job. The road, I just want to go on record saying, hey, I'm okay with that fire thing. I'm just trying to prevent cars. Fires, breakaways, have at it. No problem there. I do want to clarify the tree issue, though. Are you saying the developer wouldn't cut down those trees because then he'd have to replace them, or the landowner as well?
The developer has to do a tree mitigation plan.
Right.
The developer has.
But a landowner, he can do anything, right? Okay, I just want to clarify that.
But I think HOAs can dictate what landowners can cut down, right?
The HOA, if they put that regulation in, they can get more specific than the town can with their.
I think HOAs can say if you cut down a tree more than so-and-so comments, you need approval from the HOA. I think that's conducive.
Yes. Now, of course, the issue is someone being out there visibly seeing that happen.
Chainsaw that?
Yeah, and that's kind of our issue now as a town. We have the tree preservation ordinance, and we have like 2 or 3 code enforcement officers, so you can't be everywhere seeing what everyone does. But the only way I can see those trees being preserved, and it's just an idea, is putting some kind of an easement on the back side of that, on the northern side of that lot. Even it being some kind of an open space lot, and carving off just a portion, because they're going to have continual access to it. Even if it's just an easement for the property owner, if they're told I can't cut down those trees and, you know, trim them up, or there's going to have to be some way for the HOA to maintain that area, similar to what you
If
see.
if it's dedicated HOA,
Right, right,
but if it's the landowner's responsibility to maintain it.
correct. But again, the landowner has the ability to somewhat do what they want with their property, unless the HOA stipulates otherwise.
At what time does HOA come into existence? Because HOA may not even be in existence when the development occurs.
Depends on how the HOA is organized and what, some developments are 60% of the lots are sold and occupied, then it just depends on how the HOA is formed.
The Stony Creek HOA has certain stipulations about how many trees you have to have in your yard. You have to have 3 trees with, I can't remember, it's 3-inch caliber. You have to maintain that. If one dies, you have to replace it. But I don't know about initially, before houses are built. I don't think they're really even in existence yet, because our HOA is run by the builder. So we really, basically, it's a dictatorship. And until the HOA, the housing development is, I can't remember, it's 75% or higher sold, then we get control of it. But we've got the Robin, the 5B going in, then there's like a 4A, there's like several hundred houses that still haven't even
We're in the same
been
situation.
dreamt about yet, so we'll never get control of that.
I
in
think we
20
can't, I
years.
think we can't decide that the landowner today
But-
could go in there.
But that's what I was getting at, the HOA, the landowner,
Make a driving
we can
range.
make no guarantee
Yeah,
on what the
because they can make a
landowner is
baseball
going to do.
field, they can make a flat pathway
But
down that whole.
That said, if I've got 8 1/4 acres here, and I want to buy that, I can't imagine I'm going to go in there and clear cut that thing flat.
That was
I
my,
think
I can't imagine.
Every
I
lot.
would agree.
I would find a spot to put a house that requires the fewest trees to be cut down, and put it in the nicest spot there and keep every tree I could. But again, we can't dictate what they do or say what they're going to do. The other thing looking at this is, and I know these developments have gone together in different ways, that's why you get Oklahoma here, Oklahoma-looking shape.
Flag lot.
Property, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lots across Yosemite Drive, have they looked at going together and buying that 8 acres behind their house?
Yeah,
I would do, if I
we're in
did that, I
discussions,
would-
right. In fact, we'd like to talk to Chris
Absolutely.
after this
Because
meeting.
if you own it, you don't
Right.
have to come up here and ask, don't do this.
We're
don't
in
do
the
that.
process of talking with the neighbors. You can imagine how well that's going though. So, hey, everybody write a check. So,
The only thing
but we're working on it.
The one other issue that I could see that might mitigate some of somebody's concerns, because some of the comment letters were, what if they build an accessory building back, is to increase your back set line on that one lot to where no one could use the back half of it to build on. That would cover the majority of this.
If you don't want to build a bunker on the back, nine of that thing.
Okay.
It's just all thoughts for the.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Alex Yakovlev. I live at 368 Spurcross. I'm the guy from Brooklyn from last time. I'm just going to be pretty much the sounding board for previous people that have spoken. And I'm glad that you guys are truly trying to address our issues and talking about the way to kind of figure out how to preserve the greenbelt, because that's the majority of I guess, the concerns that most of us have. But the reality is that it looks like you cannot guarantee anything from your perspective. As soon as those lots are sold, you know, you saying, I cannot imagine a person doing this or that. If, you know, I buy that lot and I want to put a tennis court, you know, I'll get a bulldozer, I'll, you know, bulldoze it. You don't know what the person that buys it will do. You cannot guarantee it. The reality is, I bought that house for one purpose only, to have that green belt. Like I said in the previous conversation we had in May, the only reason I bought it is because I spent over 2 years. I burned through almost $100,000, you know, and you guys can calculate that amount, right? not buying a house just to find this particular lot, this particular green belt to buy this house. And I invested into this house. I spent 2 years, almost 2 years, building this house. So my 4 kids can stare at the green belt. You know, come out in the backyard and see a green belt. If somebody buys that lot and tomorrow they decide to level it, we're gonna see exactly 1 tree, because you guys saying it's gonna be a 25 feet buffer. That amounts to 1 tree. And that's all you can guarantee me. You know, exactly, I came to Sunnyvale because I've been, told that Sunnyvale, you get the, 1 acre lots, you have this freedom, the American dream, and that's why I came here, I bought the house, and, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity for me to invest here, to invest into the lifestyle so my kids can go to this one perfect school. The green belt is going to be gone, so it's going to be a nightmare for us. B, they're going to stuff all these houses. If for some reason there's actually going to be a fire station, I can't imagine somebody actually buying a house next to a fire station. It would be like a nightmare. So you can't even decide what that actual lot's going to be for. So, in Brooklyn terms, they're trying to buy you out with this municipal lot. And again, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just saying, like, literally, they're saying, well, we're giving you this lot and, this 2 acres, do what you will with it. And we're going to build this 46 lots and plus this ginormous lot that nobody needs. Okay? And I'm going to speak my mind. I'm just, because that's the only opportunity I get, essentially. And then all these other lots going to add, who moves into those houses? Statistics say over 80% is going to be families with kids, right? All those kids going to go to the only schools that we have, right? They're going to be overpopulated. I don't know if you've done any statistics, but or research, but even now I know they're overcrowded. I know they're building a new building or whatever, but it's only, I think, like for mid-level or something like that. I don't think they're going to account for this expansion, and the traffic is going to be a nightmare. And like I see, I lived in Little Elm before, and they had this small patch of road that they had to expand, and the budget was $7 million. I don't know what the budget is to expand the road here for Collins Road, but I don't think there's $7 million in the budget for the expansion of Collins Road right now. So it's probably not going to happen in the next 2 years, in reality. So Collins Road is not going to be expanded in the next 2 years. So all these people are going to start moving in. This traffic is going to quadruple. I'm going to live in the construction zone for the next 2 to 4 years. There's going to be no green belt. And meanwhile, I invested all my money that I, worked so hard for what? To live in the construction zone? So consider all of this before you make a decision into allowing this expansion. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Okay, well now, I'll close the public hearing then. The public hearing, and then you can make your question. All right, and we're now close the public hearing. Go ahead, Mr. Oldham.
I don't know if I'm right, but directly question to you. Are they going to the city do traffic analysis at all?
Yes, if required by town council as part of a preliminary plat approval or through this process, even this is only request, zone change request, they could request additional information for that, so to better help make a decision.
I think that there's need to have one, because from town east to Trick, a lot of houses are being built, and a lot of houses will be built. So it might be, and we have only one school, and the school is in one area. And we are concentrating a lot of homes on that between town east and Trick. It might be essential to do traffic analysis, because in the future, it's going to be a big problem.
But there's already plans for Collins Road to be expanded, so they would.
There's been traffic studies done.
Yes.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be an expansion.
Yeah, on the circle, the discussion on the circle going in, there are traffic studies there, and it's part of, everybody, this is Stony Creek 2G that butts up against this. When they built 2G, it affected 2E and 2F. When they built 2D, it affected 2A. And when my development went in, I've got construction going on all around me. Don't like it, but it's price of the development. And the school, from what I understand, again, I can't speak for Superintendent Doug Williams or Sunnyvale Independent School District, but the school is aware of the growth rate. They're projecting the growth rate. They're building a new intermediate school. They've decided to keep all the campuses in one location. They might change their mind, but right now they've decided to keep everything in one location. And Collins is getting more crowded and more crowded, but as you said, there's plans to widen the road, but it takes money, and there's not a lot of money in a residential community to build, to expand roads, but they're working on it. Right. But it's the same old thing. Everybody, you buy a house and you want everything around you to stay undeveloped, and then the development comes in next door to you. But our job is to make sure it's done in a way that meets the plan and
Do you have an idea
prospects of the town.
when Collins Road will be wide? Is it when we're dead or what?
I don't have a specific date. I know discussions have been had here recently, really actually last year started. But I think the new council, there'll be something that's on there then as far as establishing the project timeline and funding as we move forward. I wish I could give you more information, but I know it is on our list of things to address soon.
So, Nelson, the traffic analysis, you said they did. Is it online? The traffic analysis they did on Collins, is it online?
No, it was actually a traffic analysis that addressed, as Mr. Klein was talking about, the school district. They wanted to make certain that they could keep all of their schools in one location and want to know the infrastructure around them would be able to handle the additional traffic. So they did a traffic study as part of their proposal. But Collins Road has been studied since early 2000s. The ideas of expanding Collins Road or plans for expanding Collins Road has been in the works since then. It's just, as Mr. Klein was talking about, it's really a thing of, comes down to funding. When we will start issuing bonds for certain construction projects, we're about to get ready to start on the first phase. This is the second phase. Hopefully Dallas County will help or assist with the construction of the second phase, which will run from Tripp to Town East. As far as the timing, again, it's really tied to funding.
And funding is tied to how many people we have paying taxes, unfortunately. That's just all part of it. And without the development and without the new property taxes, it's hard to increase your tax rolls to pay for things like new roads and libraries. Any other?
I have a question. What's the possibility of making 13 and 14 something similar to what's at Jobson and Tripp right now, where it's a heavily wooded area with a jogging path, biking path? I don't know if you know what area I'm talking about. Where the wildflowers are during, where the bluebonnets are heavy. Could this be an area that we could develop with some jogging trail or something like that? So you keep as much of the trees and still make it useful for the community, for at least that community.
That could be done. I think what you're talking about is actually now some city property already been.
Yes, that's a similar park.
Sure.
So,
But something similar to that where
and
it's
I'm not for
usable.
sure that the city's gonna, or the town is actually gonna have enough room for more park.
Right. So could it be something within this HOA?
That would be up to the developer.
But
And
that's, those two
the
properties.
landowner who sells the property.
Right. Those two lots seem to be the issue, as well as the one in the front. I agree with the homeowner that you may not want to buy property with a fire station next to it. while it sounds interesting, the sound level, the lights, all of that may not be something that these people will knowingly buy into.
Yeah, but I mean, there's fire stations all over Dallas County in neighborhoods and people buy and live around them. As far as turning that, if you turn that into a park, you might run into the issue we had with the southeast corner of Collins and Highway 80, where people really don't want to park nestled back in here in a secluded area where who knows what can go on, people can drive. Plus you'll have people driving in to the neighborhood to go to the park. And so you'll have more traffic coming in, and it's such an awkward spot to try to deal with. It's a 1 8.25 acre lot. It's really, somebody that buys it would really be committed to doing it, to having such an odd lot. But I don't know. Again, we can't control it.
Well, I can see that where this particular development fits very well. It's got larger lots on the property on the north, property on the south. It's got the larger lots that back up to the falls, and it's got this huge lot that someone's going to want, or some of them won't buy and put an estate on that lot. And most people who are putting estates size homes on 8.5 acre lot, they're not going to do anything for the trees or anything. We'll say most, because you never can tell. However, if they wanted to put a tennis court in, that would have to come back before planning and zoning and also city council to be approved. So there are other things that happen along that line as far as accessory structures building that would have to be approved at a later date. Any questions, comments? Have a motion needed to approve or deny? Anyone? Well, we're in quandary here.
A motion to deny would be a motion to not approve, right? How would that be worded?
The motion to deny the request to change it from low density residential to medium. Again, I'll reiterate, I think that this is a very good plan for everybody involved. I think that the what ifs concerning lot 14 are very much what ifs. I don't think anything's going to happen with the majority of that lot.
But here's my biggest concern. I guess leaving that whole lot 14 out and leaving the trees out of this whole art discussion, which I don't think is really, I mean, I thought it's important to those people. If they want to, if it's really important to them, they can purchase that whole area and be done with this. And then leaving the trail out that connects those two things, my biggest concern is to change the UDO from SF3 to SF4. We talked about this being, that there would be essentially a good reason. And the good reason that we got was this municipal area. And Josh kind of clarified in his words in the minutes last time pretty well. It sounds like the fire chief punted back to the council and said, well, I mean, if we get a spot for a firehouse, that's great. If we don't, that's also great. So it sounds like this is not the most important land and need. We don't need a firehouse right here at this point. So I'm back to this idea is, do we have enough information? And I speak for Sunnyvale, I think, as a city, not just the Falls or Michael Lane or any else there, but do we have information to say we should change the zoning from SF3 to SF4? Because someone that built anywhere else thought that there would only be 44 houses here at the most. And now we're going to say, well, it's not 44, it's going to be 54. It's 10 more. And I just don't feel we have enough reason to do that.
Okay, and I agree with what you're saying. If it's only, if we keep it at low density, we're still gonna have the same issue with the flag lot.
Again,
There's still gonna be a lot, and that's where the
that's-
biggest source of contention is.
And
that lot.
you're getting higher density than the land to the north in Stony Creek 2G.
I understand.
That's smaller, you're getting the equivalent density of Yosemite along the line against Yosemite. So it's sizing in line with what's already there, and those had to be changed to begin with to get to where they are now.
No, but Stony Creek is built underneath the PRO, so when you bought in Stony Creek, you knew what you were buying. And when I bought in another part of Stony Creek, I knew what that was gonna be. That wasn't changed on this.
But this will also be a PRO.
Right, but it's being changed after the fact, right? We're saying like, nah, well, they should really be smaller lots, and we should really kind of get a few more lots on it. Leaving that whole 8 acres aside, I don't think that should be part of, I mean, I know it's important to those people, and I get that. I get trees are important, but I don't think that's part of, we can't control what homeowners do. You know, we can't control what people do, what a developer does. If they want them today to come in and bulldoze it, right, we can't change that. I think we should deal with what we can change, and what we can change is it's all boils down to the UDO for me, and I don't think we have enough reason to change the UDO today.
Mr. Jackson, approach?
One point of clarification, I don't believe this property is currently zoned. Isn't it zoned agricultural?
It's zoned SF3.
Okay. And on the comprehensive plan that was gone through, some of this was decided not to change. And we're really coming in to tighten up, to make it fit, because a 1 acre lot thing here, you could by right leave that road in and all these other
I
things.
think you're 90% there. I mean, honestly, I think you're there. And if you had 44 lots on this thing, I wouldn't have a single, I personally, and I don't think any logical human being would have anything personally to say about this. But we're forced, and I don't know what business sense is, that we logically have to make business sense.
And this makes sense, and with the open space in the middle, that's part of the give and take. We worked with staff. I know the fire chief hasn't made a decision, but that's why it's kind of consensus was let's bring this to council so that higher powers can make the decision. But we've really tried to use your ordinance because the toolbox is there, and we've used it to get to this. We've come back with really a compromise plan that fits, your code. I mean, we have a staff recommendation for the various reasons to do this. So this does fit under your matrix, and we've tried to be very good neighbors. And I will talk to the people.
The staff recommends this because it's.
I'm wondering because it's zone residential, it's residential development. The design is appropriate for the surrounding area. It's not necessarily the way I look at it, going in with SF4 lots throughout, 20,000 square foot lots throughout. He's actually took into consideration the surrounding properties and designed it to where it is cohesive with the surrounding properties. You're going to have issues just because of the way that the lot is configured with this panhandle portion. But even developed like Chairman Demko was saying, as SF3, you're still going to have the panhandle issue. With the PD, it's just that, it's a negotiation, and one of the points that as part of the PD is the developer providing something for the town in exchange for
Right, and the something is the municipal part, and that it goes back to that. Is that more than what we need? Is that enough to change the UDO?
I can't answer.
No, right, and that's where we go back to the fire chief, back to this, and we tabled this for a reason, and we tabled it for that reason, and it got punted back to the town council.
Right.
Well, beyond the fact that whether or not it gets used for a fire station or not, the fact that the developer is willing to dedicate that to the city, put a trail across it to connect, even if it doesn't get used for a fire station.
You guys know where I stand. I can't make it any more clear.
I'm just wanting to clarify that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a fire station.
It could be a lot.
It could be a park.
I'm good with whatever. The question is enough to change the UDO?
Okay, we're back to the question of a motion.
I don't know that there's an issue. Is there? been an issue expressed with the sizes of the lots more than there is with the lot 13 and 14, because 13 and 14 they reworked them. There's a staff recommendation that the trees along the northern boundary of the property maintained to use as a buffer.
I understand.
So that's about as much as you.
I may be a little in left field here with saying the lots matter.
No, I understand, and I agree. I'm tired of downsizing everything.
I think if I took someone over that lived over in, I don't know, Homestead, and I asked them, do you want more houses in Sunnyvale or less houses in Sunnyvale than we planned for? And I asked them that simple, I know it sounds, I'm a simple person, I am a simple person. If I asked them that simple question, they would say, I don't think we need any more houses than we're planned for.
But if you ask them if they want more taxes, what would they say?
That's a catch-22 for sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm
They- This is why they give the answer you want, but when you ask, when it comes to taxes, they don't want more taxes.
You guys know where I stand.
I do understand.
Well, I was a similar boat when I bought in Stone Canyon. There was the developer flat out told me there's going to be more houses behind you eventually. He said 5 years, that was 15 years ago, there's still not a house there. So, and it all depends, of course, the economy tanked and the houses kind of quit for a while, but you don't know how long it'll take to sell that particular lot or what they're going to do with it. But there's nothing that we can do about that from the commission, from the commission standpoint. You know, unfortunately, we'd all like to have acre or multi-acre lots, but there's a lot of people who don't want that large of a property to maintain and take care of. And again, I will say that I think this is a good fit for this location. Whether I would do it in another location, that would be questionable. But because the property's north and south and west of it, I think it's a good fit. And I think the developer has done a good job of trying to work with the neighbors to keep that panhandle as clean as possible with very little there.
I move for approval in addition to the staff recommendations.
Okay. There a second? Second.
I'll second.
Second. We have motion and a second. All those in favor? 3. All those opposed? 2. Motion passes 3-2-2. Huh?
It was 3-2. It's had 4
Oh,
votes.
we have to have 4. That's right. I'm sorry. My bad. I forgot we didn't have another member here. Okay. So, motion fails. All right. Let's go on to the next item agenda. The applicant is the town of Sunnyvale. The request is private clubs and ordinance amending the town unified development ordinance, duly passed by the town council on March 26, 2018, as amended from time to time, so as to review and amend section 304-04A9, private club standards, and section 3.04.05G, establishment selling alcoholic beverages, as well as other associated sections, providing an effective date, providing for penalties, and providing a severability clause. Staff?
Chairman Commission, on May 5th, 2018, Sunnyvale residents voted and approved on-premise alcohol sales, primarily mixed beverage sales within the town. The approval allowed for on-premise mixed beverage sales without a private club membership requirement. At this time, the Unified Development Ordinance only addresses alcohol sales associated with a private club. A private club is defined as a club that holds a private club registration from the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. It's not necessarily a club, it's just what they call that registration. So, private club registration only authorizes the permit holder to sell alcoholic beverages to members of its establishment. They must sell a certain percentage to maintain that private club registration. Each customer must pay a membership fee, and that's just typically passed on with the purchase of the beer or whatever they buy, in order to purchase alcohol in the establishment. The overall club process is, of course, seen tedious as for most retailers and pretty large franchise retail restaurants. With the recent approval of mixed beverage alcohol sales, the town staff has developed this amendment to change the private club land use classification and note it as establishments with alcohol beverage sales. The approval would still be the same as a private club was, requiring a specific use designation, but the title would be different. It just provides a clear understanding of what would be allowed rather than it being noted as private club. I also suggested, right now, when you go into UDO and you click on the private club and it takes you to the specific regulations, it takes you to one section. And if you're not familiar with the document, you don't realize there's another section that goes further into detail with the distance requirements and such. I just decided to combine those so they are in one location and repeal the other location. Staff has presented the recommendation for commission review.
Okay. Any questions or comments for staff?
Shot again, that sounds good. What you're saying is remove that little target sign, get beer at its establishment.
Pretty much, I'm still learning this process, but it's similar to what they like to use. I don't know if they still do the Unicard type system. That's essentially what
You're
they're
saying remove that and put it underneath one single heading underneath the UDO.
Yes. The classification, now we can go into further detail as far as the requirements and conditions of approval. I had suggested adding a stipulation for some type of food sales, a certain percentage. But what we're essentially asking them to do is, instead of getting a private club registration, they'll get a mixed beverage sales.
And you got that wording from somewhere in the state of Texas.
Yes, yes.
60% is kind of the standard, is it?
There's specific wording said 60% of the gross receipts of the licensed premise. I received some other information that said at least 50% of the sales should be food, or no more than 50% shall be, no more than 50% shall be alcohol sales.
So it's saying that 50 or 60% of it has to be, can't just serve liquor, you got to serve food. Right, okay, gotcha.
I just want to point out that some of those percentages and ratios come from what the private club standards were for a lot of cities used, and then once it becomes just all on-site beverage sales, some cities choose to enact those percentages again of food to alcohol ratio in order to maintain certain types of establishments.
Gotcha.
What happens if these sales are exceeding that amount? What's the recourse to the city?
Then they could lose their SUD, or what we call it now.
Yes.
Their specific use.
We will have the ability to revoke the SUD, and they could also be in trouble with the TABC as well.
Yeah, TABC regulates that extensively.
Yeah,
Depending on what
I'm not
permit they
familiar
get.
with that.
if they're a private club, I'm sorry, if they're a private club, they're audited by TABC officials ever so often randomly, and they have to furnish receipts and everything to prove that they're in compliance.
Would
Thus,
this be multiple times a year or every few years?
I mean, yeah,
I don't know, I'm not familiar with this.
it's at
It
random.
depends on the location, and it is random. However, there's another way you can verify this. You can go online. Every month, they publish the liquor sales for each location of everybody that sells liquor in the state of Texas, liquor or beer and wine.
Because one of the concerns that Sunnyvale has previously had, or people in Sunnyvale, is that we don't want a liquor shop. So we don't want a glorified liquor shop necessarily. You're saying,
Well, there's no
Because-
package sales here.
Yeah, it's
Right,
all
right.
on-site, nothing off-site,
right,
besides beer and wine.
right. So they could lose their license by themselves just by, if they don't comply with percentage.
Correct. Plus, we have the right to revoke their SUD.
But somebody would have to bring that to our attention.
Well, actually, we could go online and find out. Because, I mean, it's public record once they publish the reports.
Yes, TNBSC is more stringent than us. I mean, we require the SUD, but in order to keep their license, they have to provide monthly reports to TABC.
They have to even report their spills. So if they break a bottle or if they, have a cracked bottle and have to throw it away, they have to weigh it and report it. It's very strictly regulated. I had a quick comment, and it's more of a, I don't know, under, let's see, on Exhibit 1, location limitations,
Yes.
we got listed as number 2, the sell alcohol beverage for revenue business that's located within and with colon. And then we got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We got 3, 4, 5, and 6 that all pertain to that wording.
Correct.
But they've got separate numbers. In other words, 3, 4, 5, and 6
Okay, I get what you're saying.
maybe should be indented or somehow shown.
Gotta be some,
Yeah.
some words, some beautification of the document.
Well, and maybe renumbering
It's
or
renumbered,
or bullet points or something.
Sub.
Bullet points.
sub 2.
Because all these, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all part of 2. The sale of alcoholic beverages is prohibited in a business that's located within 300 feet of a church, public school, public hospital, 300 feet of private school, 1,000 feet. So I just think it needs to be
Subcategory.
subcategory of item 2. Yeah, I think it just make the reading easier.
Yeah.
As somebody who reads codes all the time, believe me, I appreciate that. I mean, for instance, like if you go back to Exhibit 1, Section 30404A9, under K, it says for purposes of section of law, and shall apply, colon, and then you've got all these items, and then we get down to location, and it changes. I just think you either need to take that colon out, reword that sentence, or change the bullets.
Gotcha.
And so we're talking striking amendment 30404A9, or we're changing to Exhibit 1, is what you're saying.
Correct. This amendment will pretty much remove the section 3.0405G
G, okay.
and combine it with 3.0404A9.
Okay. All right, as this is a public hearing, we will now open the public hearing if anybody wants to make a comment. If not, the public hearing is now closed. Any questions, comments, or motion?
Motion for approval.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. P, second by Mr. Okafor. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Next.
I'm sorry, you did stipulate the cleaning up the bullets. Is that part of the?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I was, yeah. That's staff.
Yes.
I mean, if it gets cleaned up, it does, it doesn't. It's just a matter of, I think it'd make it easier to read it down the road. Okay, item number 7. Town of Sunnyvale, land use chart classification ordinance amending the town unified development ordinance, ordinance 17-09, duly passed by the town council on March 26, 2018, as amended from time to time so as to review and amend section 3.04 zoning land use regulations, specifically section 3.04.03 use chart, as well as other associated sections providing an effective date, providing for penalties, and providing a severability clause. Staff?
Chairman, Commission, as we're aware, the UDO was adopted in March 2018. And comparison with the former zoning ordinance, the UDO is overall consistent with the previous development regulations, minus a few land use classification inconsistencies. Staff was asked to prepare a review of the land use chart. The chart below in the staff memo, and it's also noted on the presentation, is something that I had noted in just the daily use of the land use chart. When we transitioned from the old ordinance, we combined many of the office uses, but didn't keep an office warehouse type use. So I'm just asking to amend to allow for the office uses in the light industrial zoning district. Also in the staff memo as part of this review, and this is something that was brought up in April by town council, as a review of the highway commercial zoning district and the uses as compared to the former zoning ordinance and the new UDO. Over the 2-year period, we noticed specific uses that we didn't want to transition in regards to it being in line with the comprehensive plan, the future plans for the, and more specifically, the future plans for Highway 80. So these were items or land use classifications that staff was asked to show that changed from the old zoning ordinance based on our overall Unified Development Ordinance review and drafting of the Unified Development Ordinance. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of these transitions. Also, I sat down with staff, the Economic Development Director, Tracy Anderson, and you see on the dais some suggested changes also that she has made, and I concur with as far as opening up the Highway 80 corridor. If these are some of the changes that we want to see, that we've shown to change the land use classification chart in the highway commercial area and make it more of an entertainment area. She suggests these be allowed by right as opposed to a specific use designation.
I do have a question, sorry. I know if you drive by 80 now, you do see collections of vehicles. It looks like vehicle storage externally. Are you saying you can't have a facility that stores, but you do allow trucks to be in the property like that?
Well, some of those businesses are, of course, grandfathered in.
So it wouldn't affect them at all?
No, as long
So
as
this is only for future
uses. As long as they stay active and don't lie dormant for more than a year, then they're fine.
Or they don't change use.
Oh, they don't change use, correct. But moving forward, it was understood that this was the area that Council and Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to see change somewhat as far as the uses are concerned. Be more entertainment and big box friendly development, and that's what this was about, these changes. And Ms. Anderson has provided some additional changes.
So is this part of your recommendation to you?
Yes.
Is this hotel fitting with the recommendations, the height of it?
Well, it should be an SUD. Yeah.
And I just, people are gonna go crazy when you say hotel and stories and,
Well, let me see that.
remember the.
Well, 3 stories are permitted, 4 stories are not.
So that's
Require an issue.
That's underneath the current UDO, I assume.
Correct. Before I speak, I want to make certain that I always understood that the
I just want to get the same discussion we had with the area where Chick-fil-A is going to go.
When you say gym or health fitness center, we've had a gym or health fitness center in a shopping complex, but you're talking about a much larger, or are we talking about a large type facility like a Lifetime Fitness or?
I think it's something like that. I mean, many of our regulations, and speaking about our previous agenda item tonight, the church, much of those regulations are intended to apply for large, big box development. So your entertainment, your big 24-hour fitness or Lifetime Fitness will be allowed in that area along Highway Commercial. And it's actually appropriately located on a corridor to handle the traffic, highway corridor.
I think these things are great as long as it's not outside the UDO. I think it's great.
I had noted in my review of comparing the uses that Ms. Anderson noted and comparing it with the old zoning ordinance. Was essentially, those classifications were just carried over from the old zoning ordinance.
Except for a couple.
Well, yeah, the names, yeah.
I mean, we've changed names on some of the, I mean, for instance, boat storage is now no longer available there. And I think contractor shop, I've complained about this before. I see no difference in a contractor shop and office warehouse. I think they should be combined. And in highway commercial and or in light retail, it should be permitted, but that's, other people had other opinions of that. So I agree with the contractor storage yard. So yeah, we did make several changes from the former zoning to the unified, or the UDO. And so what we're talking about here tonight is just,
He's just trying to tighten up the light retail part of this.
Exactly.
You're trying to tighten up the light retail part of this.
The highway commercial part.
it's highway commercial. But
Yes, just to verify, moving forward, everyone is aware of these changes and proposing any, if you have any other proposed amendments, that I could forward on and recommend to town council.
Well, we expected this to happen. We adopted a UDO and expected once you got into the workings of it, that you come with some ideas being a change. This is
Right.
expected.
Yes.
So the only real change in the UDO is the proposed amendment changing the office, professional, and medical or business. We're changing it from not allowed in light industrial to permitted.
Correct.
Right. That's the only change we're making.
That's the
Let's
only
go with
change.
entertainment.
Not,
Well, that's the only change I had
that's the
proposed.
only thing he proposed. She's proposing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're at, can this not be part of the agenda item, you think?
It can, because the way I worded the agenda item is just an amendment to, or I can come back.
They're asking seeking direction, review, and approval.
Right. So,
So if we can add to it, we can add all this to it if we'd like to.
yeah, I think that's great.
Okay. All right, as this is a public hearing, we have to open it to the public. You don't want to speak?
I can.
Okay. This is the only public hearing.
Good evening. We've
Name and
worked,
address, please.
Tracy Anderson, 2740 McCormick Court, Rockwall, Texas. So the proposed changes before you came about when we were looking at the different land uses is that as I've been talking to people, we've kind of talked with council a little bit about the idea that Sunnyvale Center would be more of an entertainment, tourist destination, attraction area. We also have the northwest corner that's looking at a possible grocery anchored retail component. So the idea that we have two grocery anchored developments made sense that the Sunnyvale Center side would be an entertainment district. And talking with Mike Anderson, he kind of agreed with that sentiment as well. So in doing that, most of these retailers would like to come in as something permitted as opposed to going through a special use permit and designation and going through that whole process. So that's why some of those things, bowling alley, movie theater, recommend that on that highway commercial, thinking more of the Sunnyvale Center lot being permitted in that area.
But it could be across the highway as well. You're saying,
So right now, the northwest corner is zoned general business. It's not even zoned highway commercial. So according to this, if it's just under highway commercial, it would not be allowed on the northwest corner.
Which would take another zoning change.
Correct.
However, these are permitted already in the plan development for the Sunnyvale Center.
They are not.
right? Is that what,
Right, not all of them were specifically noted, like I think you put
Bowling alley.
was not noted as an allowed use by right in that area.
So if we go back, or if they decide to do that in Sunnyvale Center, they're going to have to come back for another,
Site plan.
Well, they have to open up the PRO,
they'd have to redo the PRO.
yes, to add that use.
And since the PRO hasn't been, well, they just now started the,
Right. There's some other things in that PRO that may come back. It only allows 7 drive-through restaurants, and you never know, I can see that being an issue.
So you think there might be a possibility of more drive-throughs in the Sunnyvale Center section?
they have by right 7.
It's allowed by right, but only a max of 7. So if you consider those parcels along the frontage road of Collins Inn, they're going to be, even if they have, let's say, a shopping center section in the center part, I've seen where people have kind of like a little coffee shop where you can drive through and pick up. It could cause a problem.
Would that even include a grocery store or pharmacy drive-through? Or is that a different?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think we've never made a difference or a variation in terminology for a retail store like a pharmacy or a drive-through cleaners as far as
I believe the UDO just states whether it's a restaurant.
restaurant.
Yeah, because your Walgreens, your CVS, they all have drive-throughs.
So
I've seen cleaners that have, dry cleaners that have drive-throughs. I can see where that would.
But I don't think we address that separately. In other words,
Drive-through.
you don't say dry cleaner and dry cleaner with
Isn't
drive-through. You
No.
say restaurant or
I
restaurant.
think it's like
drive-through.
7 restaurants
Yeah.
that drive through.
Restaurants would drive.
Yeah.
Sort of specific.
Specific.
Mhm.
Any other comments?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, entertain a motion. Or entertain a motion to approve the proposed amendment and the additional 5, 6 items,
Suggested.
the entertainment items.
I make a motion to approve the requested land use classifications as per this document, as well as the additional 5 or 6 recommended by Tracy Anderson.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, on to our last item. Applicant, again, the town of Sunnyvale. He's going to be popular tonight. Zoning map update the town zoning map and zoning district designations in accordance with section 3.03.02, specifically table 12 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Director Jackson.
Chairman, Commission, again, as noted, with the adoption of the UDO, we consolidated some of the zoning districts and renamed a couple of the zoning districts. We no longer have a specific design criteria overlay manual, so that information, those design criteria were included along specific corridors into the development standards. So it's suggested by the consultant to remove this on the zoning map, and just note it as a specific requirement for those specific areas. Also, we transitioned from attached housing to multifamily housing, the name itself. Also, attached housing was changed to SF5 as well. Our PROs, planned residential overlays, which in essence were our own version of a PD, are now truly a title plan development. On the map, I made certain that people were still aware of their original name, so they could still find the ordinance for that specific area. So you will see PD PRO 463 to find information on that. And it's very helpful. I town planner, has some skills with the GIS, so he was able to get a lot of this information easily transferred and changed.
It's great, it's good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We'll now open the public hearing. We'll now close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to approve the new zoning map.
Motion for approval.
Here a second. It's been motioned by Mr. Pease, second by Mr. Okafor. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. I got that word out for once. All right, we'll now close this meeting, the regular scheduled meeting at 8:45. Thank you, everybody.
Says you get
I'm sure he will. I mean, either that or he's dug in the water for like 2 or 3 months.